College football is a coach's game. More than any other, football is a coach's game. It is a product of the ability of the men who teach it, a tribute to their genius and their dedication. It is a sport shaped in the image of these men, unique, vigorous, oft-times noble individuals who found in coaching not only a meaningful life's work, but a means of expression, a purpose, of fulfillment.
I'm in love with football for what it has accomplished. Men of principle, loyalty, determination, courage, and fight, and they have helped immeasurably in the development of these United States.
Amos Alonzo Stagg was almost 100 years old when he said those words. He had coached football for 70 years. He believed it to be his calling. He said that no man was too good to be the athletic coach for youth. Stagg's creative thinking and influence spanned 3 generations and transformed the game. The huddle, the direct pass from center, the blocking dummy, the backfield shift, the unbalanced line, the man in motion, the reverse, all came from Stagg's fertile mind. He put lights on the field and numbers on the uniforms. But he was more than an inventor. He was a standard bearer for the game's character, its ethics and ideals. And when he was in his 90s, he was still to be found cutting his grass with an ancient push mower. A neighbor watching him do this as a routine noted that Stagg would then allow the boys in the neighborhood to play on the carefully manicured lawn, ripping it up. The neighbor was incredulous. "Sir," said Stagg, "I'm not raising grass, I'm raising boys." The best of coaches would have found success no matter what their field. They often chose football despite being eminently qualified in other areas. Stagg studied for the ministry at Yale. Newt Rockne graduated magna cum laude in chemistry at Notre Dame. John Heisman of Georgia Tech was a Shakespearean actor who corrected his players in precise stage English. Robert Nayland of Tennessee was an Army general and a war hero. Don Perot of Missouri, a master's in horticulture. Jock Sutherland of Pittsburgh was a dentist. But they brought their talents to college football. And the returns from this good fortune have one common denominator. No matter how long the odds, no matter how great the challenge, they won. Glenn Scobie Pop Warner was like a missionary, spreading the word. He wanted Georgia. He wanted Pittsburgh. He wanted Stanford and Cornell and Temple. And he even wanted the little Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania, where he coached a young Sac and Fox Indian boy named Jim Thorpe. As he traveled around, Pop Warner was like a medicine man, concocting the screen passes and roll blocks and naked reverses that revolutionized football after the turn of the century, saving it forever from its brutal beginnings. The best of coaches did not inherit winning teams. They made them. Wallace Wade won at Alabama, and he won at Duke. Fritz Chrysler won at Minnesota, at Princeton, at Michigan. Bernie Bierman won at Mississippi State, Montana, Tulane, and Minnesota. On the surface, gloomy Gil Dobie seemed to find no pleasure in winning at all. He had a personality that was said to be as sparkling as a rub board. He cried before games and was never known to utter an encouraging word. But Dobie was the archetype winning coach. In his first 11 seasons, 2 at North Dakota State, 9 at Washington, his teams never lost a game. But Gil was so gloomy, the fans booed him anyway. The best of coaches were not all innovative, but the game's evolution and its improvement from era to era and within eras is the direct result of their imaginative coaching. Football is a proving ground for movers and shakers. Its popularity is linked directly to their brilliance. Clark Shaughnessy introduced the modern T formation to a hungry Stanford team in 1940, his first year there. The object of football, said Shaughnessy, is not to annihilate the other team, but to advance the ball. College football had never seen anything like the T. Don Farrow's split T at Missouri sprung the first option play on an unsuspecting world, and college football hasn't been the same since. The split T was the forerunner of the modern wishbone and veer attack so popular today. Bud Wilkinson won a record 47 games in a row while coaching the Oklahoma Sooners, and then credited everything he knew about football to Don Farrow. The lines of greatness have often intersected in football, the pupil rising up in the tracks of the teacher. Fritz Chrysler learned under Alonzo Stagg, Frank Leahy under Knute Rockne, John Heisman, originator of the hidden ball play and the double pass, and for whom the coveted Heisman Trophy was named, was succeeded at Georgia Tech by his assistant coach, Bill Alexander. Heisman once said that a coach should be masterful and commanding, even dictatorial. He said a coach has no time to say please. At times he must be severe, arbitrary, and a little short of a czar. Bill Alexander lived up to those standards. He slapped helmets and kicked butts, and as Rockne himself said, got more out of nothing than any coach in America in the 30s and 40s, when his Tech teams were the first to visit the 4 major bowls. Winning coaches come in all sizes, shapes, and personalities. They have only one common trait: the ability to hold a team in the palm of their hands. Some have held a little tighter than others. Those who seem to be made of nothing but flint and steel, the stern taskmasters, like Robert Reese Nayland, the Tennessee Martinet, who produced one powerhouse team after another. Jock Sutherland once put a stopwatch on a Pittsburgh halfback to prove that a cross-step was a fraction faster than a sidestep. Fritz Chrysler's Michigan teams reflected his cool, dispassionate efficiency. With his business acumen and the success on the field with the Wolverines, Michigan was the first to make modern football a $1 million enterprise. Earl Blake's Army teams of the 1940s were in a class by themselves. An assistant coach was asked once how Blake handled his aides during that time. The reply, 17 hours a day. Emotion is credited with many a victory in football, but the ability to inspire it is not a vain goal that runs uninterrupted through the ranks of the coaching greats. Howard Jones won 3 national championships at Southern California and was a man so obsessed that he often forgot appointments and ignored traffic signals. But he could admit to his friends that he once regaled his team for an hour, sobbing for victory, and then lost the game. Bernie Bierman of Minnesota said that he had never made an emotional speech in his life, never lost his temper, never shed a tear, never appealed to sentiment. And all his Minnesota teams did was win 6 Big Ten titles and 4 national championships. But no coach perfected the art of inspiration. None sold the game in its glory any better than the stocky Norwegian immigrant who made the little Catholic school in Indiana the central jewel of college football. To paraphrase Will Rogers, Notre Dame was Knute Rockne's address, but every gridiron in America was his home. He was only 5 feet 8 inches tall, but Rockne cast the longest shadow the game has ever known. He was inspirational beyond comparison. Of Rockne, an Irish player once said, he could make you so mad you wanted to kill him. Then he would smile and you wondered what it was you were mad about. When Knute Rockne talked, Westbrook Pegler once wrote, it was like an old battered oil can giving champagne. When he talked, everybody listened.